Hi, welcome to this interview. This is Bettina coming to you from Germany. We are having some sunshine today, which I'm very grateful about because we have had the coldest summer that I can ever remember. And I'm having Chloe here with me today, which I'm very grateful you taking the time to do this interview. So Chloe is big into health and wellness. She is an athlete herself and is coaching those as well. So Chloe, just hand over to you and maybe you can tell us a little bit about what it is that you are doing, because it's sort of
Well, hi everybody. Thanks so much for having me on. I am a mind-body performance coach. So I work with professional Olympic athletes and women around the world, and I teach them how to sort of do less but do it better. So using a little blend of athletics, which is my background, I'm a sprinter, athletics, Pilates, that's my main thing that I've been trained in. So athletics, Pilates, mindfulness and strength training, and I like to combine them all to help people be more efficient with their training and become really mindful movers. And it's been something that I've been so passionate about within myself for my own sport. Something that my coach had always told me was, the question shouldn't really be how much should I train to get what I want? It should actually be how little can we do and still get what we want. And I think that sort of goes over into overall wellness as well. It's not really about taking every single supplement and taking every single thing possible. It's finding the most effective things and just doing those to get the results that we want, which is exactly how we really discovered our Nrf2 and all of that sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I know a lot of people know that's something I'm very passionate about, but I'm very curious what you have to say, because I'm sure you would have heard of so many different things throughout your career. So what is it that caught your attention with Nrf2 activation?
Well, I had been sponsored by a big supplement company for a few years, and the first thing when I got into that company, I was mainly drawn to the protein powders and the fat burners and things like that, but no one had ever told me anything to do with science. And so I just had always taken people's word on things, and I never really thought too much about that until I got further into, I guess, my journey. And then I was like, what are these ingredients in these things that no one's really giving me answers for? And then I would do my own research, and my mum's really big into nutrition as well, so she would always educate me on those sorts of things. And so I ended up completely going off of everything. And I just started going into more of my own research and taking things like spirulina, and I always wanted to take everything in its own form, potent by itself, so I knew that there wasn't anything else in the products. And I noticed that was actually something that first I was standoffish of taking Protandim, was because it was a synergy. And I believed, with my lack of knowledge obviously then, was that if I was to take all of the ingredients individually, which I was already taking a few of them individually, that it would be more potent and more effective. And it wasn't until I understood that the synergistic blend is 18 times more potent when it was mixed together, that's why it works so well. And then I was like, oh my gosh, well, that's efficiency right there. I'm all about efficiency. So that's how I really started getting more into, well, I suppose I should start with how I got into it. I wasn't really so intrigued by it to begin with, because I have been faced with a lot of supplements that I didn't really care to even look into it. I was very closed-minded because the fitness industry is just bombarded with supplements, and everybody takes all these different things, and no one really has given me anything to prove a reason why something is better than another. There's never been any proof given to me before. And then I was given a couple of different things to look at for the company. And when I started really diving into it, then I decided to try it, which was still a hard decision to make, to even try it. And so when I did start trying it, that was really what got me wanting to research more, because of the changes that I started to feel. If I didn't feel anything, I probably wouldn't have looked into it. But the fact was, for me with my training, I use pain as a gauge of, if I have a particular program to do and I should be running, say, 15 seconds for the 100 meters, and I'm supposed to do 10 or 15 of those, I know how my body should feel by the end of the session. And that's how I know, okay, so if this is my first session that I'm doing this is how my body should feel. And maybe by the 6th or 7th time, my body should feel completely different. And the confusing thing for me once I started taking these was that the gauge went away.
Oh, wow.
That confused me, because I thought, well, how can my body be adapting so quickly? I haven't been doing my session long enough, or I'm doing a session where I know I'm always in constant lactic sort of feeling, and I don't ever have that feeling where it goes away. It feels a little bit better, but it's always there. But it really, it sort of just went away, and it was confusing. So I was like, what the hell? I got to look into this more. And so I started looking into more of the research and the videos, and that's when I started understanding what it was really doing, which inflammation is what causes the feelings that we're getting in the exercise. So like lactic acid buildup is inflammation in the body. And if you don't have that amount of inflammation in your body, you're not going to experience the same sort of feelings. So when I started understanding that, I thought, oh, okay, that really does make sense to me. So
That's awesome. Wow. So you quickly now mentioned inflammation already, which is such a huge topic, I mean, for all of us. But why is it particularly important for athletes? And I know you're also very passionate about, contact sports. I think your partner is ex-pro rugby player? Or?
Yes. Yeah. So he was a professional rugby player, and he had to retire from an injury. And so he's actually on Pro Tandem as well, which is funny because I just told him to take it and didn't tell him what it was. And then he's like, what is this stuff that you're giving me, by the way? I was like, oh, so now you care. And he's like, no, I'm asking because my eczema went away.
Wow.
And he's had eczema his whole life. And he's never, like under his arms, he's never, ever had smooth skin. And after 2 weeks, he had smooth skin.
Wow.
And it's not bleeding anymore. It doesn't look like he's had eczema, and that was a big shock for him. And that wasn't even sports related.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But his brother also plays professional rugby over here. So that was actually the main reason I got into the business was he was getting concussed kind of a fair bit, which was worrying me. And I thought, oh, what about, I could get into this company and I could bring it over and see how many other athletes I can help, especially in the contact world. So athletes have a 3 times higher rate of oxidative stress in their body. And that means that we also have to work that little bit more at reducing it, which is fine as long as we have the right tools in order to, to get rid of it. So a couple of those things that athletes are going to notice that they might not think of could be things like lack of focus and mental clarity and coordination. And those sorts of things are types of inflammation that we tend to not think about, right? Because it's not, people just think inflammation is swelling or injury and things like that, but it can show up in so many other ways, even digestion or poor sleep. And for an athlete to not have those things, that's a huge impact on performance. And recovery time, if you don't have coordination, if you have less coordination, if you have less focus, if you're not sleeping well, that can affect things, time judgment in a game setting, for example. If you play a team sport, that could affect you with receiving and catching the ball and making quick decisions in order to to pass or to make a split decision. That could really affect that. And for an individual sport sort of thing, that could be the difference between first and last. We just have no idea how much inflammation can really affect a person's individual performance until you have the contrast, you know.
Do you get a lot of athletes that are concerned about taking something, or, you know, because of testing or these kind of things? Do they?
Yeah, a little bit actually. It's been more so, I don't believe in taking anything. Like, I've never taken supplements. I don't want to take supplements. That's been a big one. But that also comes down to lack of understanding and lack of knowledge around what they're taking. I was a little bit like that too, which I think it's normal, and it's not something to be judged about or anything. It's okay for athletes to feel that. I think that it's important for them to be given the knowledge and the tools to make their own decision, but it is important to keep an open mind, especially if you want to maximize your performance and your recovery, to have a really what do you call it, like a more longevity in your career sort of thing, you know?
Yeah. So what you said, obviously, recovery would be one of the biggest things that makes an impact on the whole Nrf2 activation.
Yes, definitely. So not just the Nrf2. So the Nrf2 is obviously going to reduce the inflammation, but then the Nrf1 is so important, because if our mitochondria is not functioning properly, and if it's damaged, that's really going to affect our energy, because, you know, our energy comes from our mitochondria. So that's where they both really work hand in hand. And if I have an athlete that I'm going to be recommending it to, I really make sure that they can straight away go on the double, because the athletes need both. They need better sleep. They need to repair their mitochondria. They need boosted more mitochondria than an average person. So their bodies can really handle it, and their bodies respond so well and generally quite fast. So the athletes that we have using it at the moment, I don't think anyone has felt anything later than 2 weeks.
Wow.
So it's been very, very quick. People with chronic injuries are really noticing a lot of help as well. Yeah, so it's not just performance, but it's also helping with things that maybe these athletes thought that they'd be stuck with for a long time.
Yeah. Well, Chloe, thank you so very much. That was the quick that I wanted to get from you, and just hear your point of view on all of this.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you very much for your time, and I'll talk to you very soon. And if anyone wants to check out Chloe's page, I'm gonna tag her in this post, and then just
awesome.
look at everything she's doing.
Yay! Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.